Hey guys, how's it going? I just wrapped the season finale. It was pretty wild. I'm going to go ahead and cover my impressions as they occurred in the episode. And I'll put a timestamp below if you want to skip all that and just get to the takeaways and predictions for the next season. But yeah, we'll start with the title, Happiness. When I first saw that, I was like, wow, the tone set by the preview certainly didn't suggest that anything happy was going to happen. And, well, I guess we were right about that. Then in the preview from the previous episode, something they seemed to focus on was grandmother saying it'll help to nullify your caregiving impulses. She said that specifically not enabling her ability to kill number 7, so I thought that was interesting. And just the specificity, because as far as her program is concerned, I don't really see how the serpent would be significantly different from the children. Fortunately, that didn't seem to be an issue yet, at least. Grandmother, I thought, was really nice. I think she came across as pretty altruistic, and that's a credit to the actress. I think she did a fantastic job. When they were watching the hologram and they asked Vita to leave, I was like, oh man, that's going to be bad, because she's going to be the only person that doesn't know, and we already theorized that she was the most likely person to become the next tree. But we'll get to that later. The seed in the hologram, the clothing that person wore looked like an android. I'm under the impression that the seed would only work with humans, especially based on Aaron's discussion about raw materials and stuff in a previous interview. But maybe it can be an android. And if so, maybe the android's father. I don't know why, I just have a feeling that could happen. We saw the helmet. I was pretty convinced that was going to be Cleaver. I think they were pretty clever with how that played out. But I do think Cleaver is going to be significant. He's emotionally distressed. The last time we saw him, he was a total mess. And grandmother talked about how the entity liked to take advantage of people who have weak or traumatic experiences. And he certainly has had one, probably more than most other people there. The theories that people had about the tree being a Wi-Fi router, that was correct. I thought that was pretty cool. Well done, everybody that thought that. I'm curious why Paul wants to go into the pits. Does he expect to get some kind of answers or revenge? I still don't know about that. The tree is alive, apparently. We now know details more about that at the end of the episode. But at that point, I was just like, wow. So the snake consumed the tree, but obviously didn't digest it, because here the tree is standing up on its own, reconnected to the core. Perhaps the tree was controlling the serpent, and the serpent itself was evil, and if he could just throw that thing up, maybe he would have just been a badass protagonist. I don't know. And I guess we never will. We got to the fireworks and the little serpent dance thing. Yeah, it was a celebration. It was not a flashback. It was them happy that Lamia was able to take it out. That almost didn't hit me right, because I feel kind of sympathetic for the serpent, and everybody's celebrating its death. But you can totally see where they're coming from. That was definitely the biggest threat to them. At least they thought it was. And now that's been nullified, so I understand the celebration, but it still was kind of morbid to me. I do want to comment on this. The worst CGI I've seen in the entire show was the fireworks. And that seems to me like the easiest thing that you could just recreate in real life. Maybe it has something to do with where they're shooting in South Africa. It wouldn't have been appropriate, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. Grandmother seemed to be losing confidence in the ability for mother and father to do their job effectively. Maybe having a conflict in her programming because of that. We saw how that played out. She obviously kind of had the hots for father. And what father said after that is the first time I've ever felt like father loves Lamia. Like, he was kind of submissive to her, I feel like, up until this point. But, I mean, the dude's got feels for her. It's pretty evident. The EM field. I'm curious if you guys think if mother affected the EM field, or it's just because the tree is stuck back in the ground. and it's acting as a repeater again now. We'll probably get an answer to that. Lucius finally caught Marcus. Man, I bet that was nice for him. I don't know where Paul is. He got Marcus. What did he do with Paul? Did Paul go with Marcus to the pits? I don't know. Somebody had to hit the button, right? Once he got in the cage. So who was that going to be if it wasn't Paul? Grandmother said you shouldn't eat the creatures. It causes problems. So I'm like, yeah, because it's cannibalism, or maybe because it accelerates the mutations. We now know it was cannibalism, and because she has a inclination to protect them because she sees them as the humanity that she's trying to save and allow to live forever. Her talking about knowledge not being necessary, I thought was likely going to result in her playing a role in the de-evolution. We saw that was true. Then Father makes a joke about evolution, so it's like they really wanted to drive that home, like evolution, evolution, evolution. That's what they're talking about, and we certainly saw that play out. We now know how the veil works. Apparently, it kind of reminded me of those neck spikes that keep you from looking down. I think if she gets overwhelmed with emotion, that it just traps you so that you can't do anything. Pretty interesting safety device. And then I was wondering, why is Grandmother worried about the hibernation pods? Like, nobody's going anywhere. And immediately after that, we found out why. She is the one devolving everybody, and she's trapping Mother. I knew that was going to happen. I'm kind of glad to see that play out, because I didn't know what else was going to be the case if it wasn't that. And of course, she did the I just want to help you understand. It was the same thing as Vril trying to rationalize something terrible. And I thought Lamia threatened to turn her to dust was pretty interesting, because a few episodes ago, Grandmother was dust. And that's another biblical thing, I think. From dust you were created, and to dust you shall return. I think that's kind of where they got that idea from. Glad to see that Mother's the protagonist that I thought she was. A lot of people were speculating she's going to turn evil, and apparently she's still a good guy, at least until Grandmother does something to piss her off even worse than she is, like killing the kids, and then she'll probably be the worst thing that ever happened. And then there's the Lamia medallion. She got turned into a deity, like I predicted. And the girl even said Lamia the god. And I thought that was a little on the nose, but here we are. And Grandmother probably felt some type of way about that as well, especially when she feels like she's the one that's actually controlling the cards right now. The game, obviously, a means of mind control, or perhaps it's assisting in the de-evolution process as well. We saw the nanobots do that for the guy in the cave, so I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but it could be, because we're already seeing Campion have some effects and stuff. And then the guy says, "I'm done playing Necro Slayer." And I thought it was kind of funny, because so is Lamia, at least for right now. And then when I saw Marcus on the tree, I was like, well, he's hardwired to the source, and they're crucifying him. I think that he's going to become a vessel for the entity. And, yep, that is the case. All in all, I thought it was a good episode. I think it's interesting how this show has a tendency to end right before the craziness, so that we open the next season with a bunch of insane stuff. Season 1, episode 1 was like that too, if you guys remember. I think it's a good thing. It gives us something to get excited about, and I'm just praying that HBO is as excited as I am and renews this show already, because come on. One of the after the episode interview facts that I just thought was interesting is the female producer, I can't remember her name right now. She talked about how it was just a baby and it wasn't inherently evil, and I was glad to hear that, because that's kind of how I felt about it. As far as MVPs for the episode, I think Grandmother was the most interesting character to be added to the ensemble. Mother's acting was probably the best in the episode, but Grandmother really set the tone, so I'm going to give it to her. Now I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen in the coming season. I think that the rest of the code that Campion didn't copy that Paul looked at and said it wasn't nothing significant. I think some of that other stuff, because he got a small portion of it, is going to be significant. I can't wait to see what happens with that. There's a reason that all that was written. I'm curious where we go from here, because we now have two really powerful enemies and no powerful allies. Previously, it was kind of the opposite. I was wondering who could possibly contest Mother. Then we got the Serpent. Now I'm wondering who's going to contest Grandmother and the Entity if Mother's trapped. Something I was thinking about, though, I mentioned in a previous video that when you heard Soul in the past, he had multiple voices, and I thought that Sue was going to be one of those voices. Does that mean that Sue might possibly be part of Marcus now? And if so, do you think she's going to resist the Entity, maybe give somebody a window or nullify his ability somewhat? I really hope to see something like that play out. Where is Cleaver? I think one of two things is going to happen with Cleaver. He's either going to be bad, he's going to be somebody on the inside that is helping the Entity, or he's going to try to free Mother, because who knows a tarantula better than him? Maybe he'll fire the trust back up. I think it's kind of important that they didn't destroy the trust, they just powered him down. Maybe they just wanted to do 2001 Space Odyssey vibes, but I have a feeling that that was so that he could be brought back when the time comes. And he'll free Mother. Who's the primary antagonist now? I think it's Marcus. Grandmother's less threatening. I think she's already done the worst thing that she can do, other than, completing the agenda of devolving the humans. I think Marcus aims to do whatever he's trying to do before that can happen. Is he going to try to create another serpent? Because that's what he always did. I don't know. Something I noticed that wasn't in there. Grandmother, at least not that I noticed, never said, "I promise," like she did in the preview. I was really looking forward to hearing what that had something to do with, and I, as far as I know, we didn't see that. And also the statement of, "It's my time now." So, I don't know, maybe we'll see that stuff in Season 3. Mother's going to have to do a lot to win Campion back over. It's probably her number one priority, though, aside from neutralizing the threats. And I'm sure she'll do whatever she needs to do to make that happen, but I don't think he's going to be easy to win over. He is very stubborn, as we've saw in the past. Like I said before, where's Paul? Poor Paul. He is twice an orphan now. He has nobody. So I don't know. Maybe he is a prophesized one. Vita fruit. Somebody was talking about how they mentioned that in an interview or some behind the scenes stuff. We did not see the Vita fruit, so I think that has a role to be played. Maybe she's the key to creating something powerful enough to stop the Entity, like the anti-Marcus, because Marcus is clearly like some kind of antichrist now. I think it's probably going to come down to him versus Lamia, since she's being called God now. But yeah, I'm curious to see that play out. What's Father going to do? He's obviously not going to cooperate with Grandmother. He's shown that his loyalty is to Mother, so I think that Grandmother's probably going to try to do something to him to make him not an issue. Or maybe Father will get powers from eating the Tree of Life or something. It's hard to say. I really look forward to seeing the next season. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. I'm considering doing a video next week, or maybe in a couple days, analyzing all the cave drawings. If I can find enough content with that, then I'll certainly do so. Otherwise, I intend to cover some other shows coming out. House of Dragon, Westworld. There was another one too. But yeah, let me know what you'd like to hear me talk about. I like doing research and trying to read between the lines on this stuff, and seems like you guys like it too. So like, comment, share, subscribe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.